Clinton Curtis died in an airplane crash some years back. He used to work for Karl Rove. And among other people, as I recall. And he worked for a congressman down in Florida by the name of Tom Feeney, who rose to the level of Speaker of the House of Florida, this Florida state legislature, as I recall. And there's some doubt about his dying in this small plane crash. You know, there's some speculation that it was sabotage. Nobody really knows. But I just wanted to share with you. This is kind of old. I mean, this is back, during the Bush administration. There's a fairly large body of evidence that the election in Ohio in 2004 was stolen, and it was stolen via a company that Clint Curtis might have been associated with, apparently was associated with, in either Tennessee or Kentucky. I always mix those two states up. I'm pretty sure it was Tennessee. I'm pretty sure it was Kentucky, actually. No, it might have been Tennessee, whichever. And where Karl Rove was running his private server. Everybody's all hysterical about Hillary Clinton having a private email server in her house in Chappaqua. Karl Rove had one, and it was run out of Kentucky or Tennessee. And his email and George W. Bush's emails and Dick Cheney's emails ran through there. 5 million of them are missing. There has been no congressional investigation of that. And a lot of those emails appear to have had to do with the 2004 election in Ohio, where the Republican Secretary of State suggested and put into place that rather than Ohio tabulating their own election totals, that they take the electronic voting machine totals from all the Ohio precincts and they send it off to Kentucky or Tennessee, wherever this server was, this company, and have them tabulate the numbers and then send them back to the Secretary of State so that he could announce them to the world. And sure enough, when they did that and they ran them through Karl Rove's servers, all of a sudden George W. Bush beat John Kerry in 2004 in Ohio. Now, there were a lot of people very upset about that, not the least of them John Edwards, who expressed his displeasure on this program at the time. That ultimately John Kerry basically caved in and said, okay, we don't need to do a recount. There's never been a recount. There's over 180,000 ballots that have never even been opened, probably been thrown away by now. And it's a pretty amazing thing. But Clinton Curtis was sort of at the middle of all this, or at least around the periphery of it. And I just wanted to share with you his testimony under oath before the United States Congress. Here's just the first 28 seconds of, the rest of it kind of follows the same pattern, but basically here he is.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes.
How do you know that to be the case?
Because in October of 2000, I wrote a prototype for President Congressman Tom Feeney at the company I worked for in Oviedo, Florida, that did just that.
And when you say did just that, it would rig an election?
It would flip the vote 51-49 to whoever you wanted it to go to and whichever race you wanted to win.
He's like, yeah, sure, I did this for Congressman Tom Feeney. I wrote the program for him. If I can do it for him, I mean, anybody can do it for anybody. It's oh, man. We have got to get these electronic voting machines that George W. Bush pushed on us with the Help America Vote Act in 2002. That was such a mess down there in Florida where my brother just knocked 80,000 African Americans off the voting rolls and got me within spitting distance of stealing the election from Al Gore. But still, it was only spitting distance. We got to get rid of those machines that leave those cards, those chads. You can actually recount them like the New York Times did. And a year later, in November of 2002, the New York Times pointed out that by any measure, over ballot and kind of intent of the voter, pimpled chad, timpled chad, no hanging chad, pregnant chad, whatever. By any measure, Al Gore won Florida when you counted all the ballots. They buried it in the 17th paragraph of the story in the New York Times because the publisher of the New York Times later said they didn't want to diminish the credibility of President George W. Bush when he was fighting the war on terror after 9/11. Right. So, anyway, we have a problem. Now, in my opinion, the way that Barack Obama became president, you say, well, if that's true, then how can a Democrat ever win? The way he became president was that he won a massively larger vote total than did either of his opponents in either of the elections. And so, yeah, the Republicans still stole millions of votes. And I mean, the fact of the matter is that, in Ohio, people have gone to prison for voter fraud. Excuse me, in Kentucky, people have gone to prison for election fraud, for stealing elections. We did a whole story on this last week.
So anyhow, to watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.